Hello, everybody, and today I'm here to talk to you about the very first nakshatra. It's called the Ashwini Nakshatra. In India, it's also called Ashwati Nakshatra, but mostly in the Western world, we know it as the Ashwini Nakshatra. As I said, we are starting our first series on the nakshatras. Last video, I talked to you about what nakshatras are, a quick overview on what it means, what's the mythology behind the 27 nakshatras, the 27 sisters, the daughters of Prajapati Daksha. If you haven't watched that, please go back and watch that. I'll put the link below this video. And today I'll be talking about the very first nakshatra, Ashwini. Ashwini Nakshatra is the first 13 degrees and 20 minutes of the sign of Aries. The zodiac sign of Aries, as you know, in Vedic astrology, the signs are all the fixed width of 30 degrees, 30. The first 13 degrees and 20 minutes, 0 degrees to 13 degrees and 20 minutes of Aries is the Ashwini Nakshatra. It's the very first nakshatra. So what does that mean when it's the very first nakshatra? These are the pioneers. They are first, they are fast. They like to do everything, as a pioneering thing. They're the first in their field. They're impulsive. They have the tendency to leap before looking, which may not be that bad. Sometimes you have to take that stand. You have to take a leap of faith to achieve something good in life. And one of the things that I've also seen is, people who belong to this nakshatra, they walk very fast because Aries is ruled by Mars. It is a very physical nakshatra, it's a very physical sign. So being a part of Aries, this entire nakshatra is within Aries. I talked to you in the last video how sometimes some nakshatras can be shared between two zodiac signs. With Ashwini, that's not the case. The whole 13 degrees 20 minutes falls in Aries. So it is fully flavored by the sign Aries, which means everything is flavored by Mars. Very direct, very ambitious, very impulsive, and you will also see that they have interest in sports because that's Mars. Now, this nakshatra, the symbology is a horse head, the head of a horse. And there are many ways we call this nakshatra in the Western world. I've heard a lot of ways that this nakshatra is referred to. It's called the bringer of dawn because it's the very first nakshatra. It's the physicians of the god. A lot of people who have Ashwini nakshatra have great interest in health and healing and bringing about health and healing to the world. And especially when you see in world predictions, when important planets transit the Ashwini Nakshatra, you'll see a lot of improvement in healthcare. You'll see a lot of things come about, new inventions, new discoveries in helping people heal. Okay. And it is also sometimes symbolized by a carriage. And I think the reason for that could be because people who have this nakshatra very prominently in their charts, they can have a great love of travel and adventure. They are the pioneers, they think fast, they move fast on projects, and sometimes they can get bored by procrastinators. So if there's a group of people and some of them are Ashwini Nakshatra and some are, say, more calculating nakshatras, maybe in the sign of Virgo or something, and they like to make a plan and they like to take it step by step. The Ashwini Nakshatra people will not like that. They want to move very quickly. They want to move fast. And they don't like procrastinators. Okay, they get bored by that. And remember, whenever we talk about these nakshatras, nothing's good or bad. We need a mix of all kinds of people on this planet to make things happen. And I think the Ashwini Nakshatra or Aries zodiac in general, they are the doers. You know, you have the thinkers, the planners, the people who make lists, to do lists, and all of that. But then you have the doers, and these are the doers. They move fast on projects. Okay, they don't like to stay back and assess things and think about it. And that's why when things need to be done fast and furious, you go for somebody who's in an Aries sign, and especially Ashwini Nakshatra because the whole of it falls in Aries. Okay, now the deity of this nakshatra is the Ashwinikumaras. Now, who are the Ashwinikumaras? They were the physicians to the gods. Okay, that's whom the gods went to when they had any questions or when they needed any help with healing. And there's so many mythological stories about how the Ashwini Kumaras helped with healing. There's a story which involves the Lord Hanuman. There's a story that involves Lakshman, who was the brother of Lord Rama. So many of these stories are there where healing comes into the picture. Even in the Mahabharata, at the very end, the Ashwini Kumaras had to be called upon to heal people who were wounded in the Mahabharata war. So there were a lot of stories around that. Now, typically because of this deity, you'll see medical implications, people who love medicine, doctors, healers, and let me also mention horse head, right? That's the symbology. You'll see a lot of people who are horse lovers. Okay, they just love, I mean, they love animals in general, but they will have something to do with horses. I mean, either they'll own horses or they'll ride horses, or I mean, I've had a lot of clients who were interested in equestrian activities. So they had horses. That's Ashwini. Okay, it's very strong Ashwini Nakshatra. And you will see a lot of people who have interest in medicine and healing. Also, one little known fact is Ashwini Nakshatra also has to do with astrology. And the story for that comes from the fact that in the Mahabharata, there was a story, one of the there are so many of the mythological stories, but I'm going to tell you one story just to kind of give you an idea about the astrological connection, with the nakshatra. So in Mahabharata, Queen Kunti was given a boon, or she was given a wish where she could pray to a certain god and she could be blessed with a child who has the qualities of that god. One of the first things she did was, she prayed to Lord Dharma, then she prayed to Lord Indra. She did all of that. But in the very end, she prayed to the Ashwinikumaras, and she was blessed with twins, Nakul and Sahadeva. They were the last two of the Pandava brothers. And these two brothers, they imbibed all of the meanings of the Ashwini Nakshatra. They were both healers. They were very good at medicine. They loved horses, right? And one of the chapters of the Mahabharata, when they had to go in exile and they had to be undercover, they were running the horse stables at a king's palace. Okay, so there's always that symbology with horses. And one of them was very interested in astrology. In fact, there is a story that says when the war was about to begin, the Kurukshetra war, Duryodhana went to Nakul and Sahadev and asked them to astrologically give him a good muhurta to start the war. Now, these brothers are fighting from the other side. They are the Pandavas, and Duryodhana was from the Kauravas side. So they could have deceived him and given him a bad date or a bad muhurta. But they were so pure in the sense that they knew that they had the knowledge. And when you have knowledge, you need to have responsibility, right? As an astrologer, I cannot misguide a client. I have a certain responsibility to that client. So that's what those Ashwini Kumara's sons, Nakul and Sahadeva, did. They very truthfully gave him the right time to start the war, right? I believe they gave a time when the Abhijit Nakshatra was involved. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to go back and refresh my memory. But they did give him a very good time. So that is, again, I told you the story because I wanted to show you the connection to astrology. So people who have planets in Ashwini Nakshatra, could be the sun, the moon, mostly the moon, or the ascendant. They also have an innate love of Vedic astrology. Okay. Now let's come to the mythology of these Ashwini Kumaras. So there are many stories, but the prominent one that I have seen goes something like this. Lord Surya, who is the sun god, he loved Sandhya, or she's also called Sanjana in some texts. She was the daughter of Vishwakarma, who's called the universal architect. Okay, and so of course, Surya loved Sandhya. And in India, Sandhya actually stands for, the dusk time when the sun is about to set. That's what it means. Now, they were very much in love with each other, but Sandhya could not take the heat of the sun. The sun was so hot, so she couldn't bear the heat. So what she did is she cast her image or she cast kind of like a look-alike. And she called that look-alike, she called her Chaya. Chaya in Sanskrit means shadow. So she cast this shadow and she instructed Chaya to stay with Surya, take her place, and pretend like she's Sandhya. And then Sandhya, the real Sandhya, she went into exile, right? Sanjana went into exile and she said, I'm going to go and meditate. I'm going to do penance. I need to take a break from all this. So when she went into exile, she took the form of a horse on earth. Um, Now, you know that the earth is, revolving around the sun. So sun is always like going across the sky. So Surya at one point noticed Sandhya in the form of a horse, and he recognized her from the sky. So he wanted to join her. So he joined her on earth in the form of a horse himself. And the children that resulted out of that union, the twins, were called the Ashwinikumaras, and they had horse heads. Okay, so that's the whole mythology behind this. And remember, mythology is not just stories. It has a very deep psychological meaning. That's the reason why when you think about this mythology, the reason these stories are put together is so you can remember the symbology of horses. So that's when you know, okay, somebody who has planets in this nakshatra would have a great love for horses. Or you can think about healing or physicians, all of that. Now, coming to the next level of analysis of this nakshatra, the fixed stars. The fixed star that is in the portion of this zodiac, in the portion of the sky, right where the Ashwini Nakshatra is El Sharatan. Okay, it's called the horn of the ram. Remember, Aries symbology is the ram. So the horn of the ram is where the fixed star El Sharatan is located, and it is actually a very prominent fixed star in the Ashwini Nakshatra. It deals with being very direct. Remember the horn, right? Very direct. There's no sugarcoating anything. There's no beating about the bush. First in everything, fast in executing a project or a plan. And, it deals with being direct. Now, it is also called a very violent nakshatra, or sorry, a violent star. Whenever you have planets that's at the El Sharatan degree, there could be some violence associated with that, especially in world predictions. When you see Uranus or any other malefic planets going through this part of the sky, there could be some violent things erupting around the world. So that's the idea of the star. So coming back to the features of people who have Ashwini Nakshatra: travelers, adventurers, animal lovers, specifically horse lovers, pioneers. They love to do things fast. They probably they walk fast too. And they're just good at executing things. They're the doers of the zodiac. Okay, so that's the idea, or the whole mythology and the lesson behind the Ashwini Nakshatra. Next time I'll come back with the next nakshatra in the zodiac, which is Bharani. I'll see you at that point, but don't forget to subscribe to my videos. I'll be talking about all these nakshatras, and make sure you subscribe, and also go to my website and pull up the free chart calculator and calculate your chart, and you can see if you have planets in 0 degrees to 13 degrees 20 minutes of Aries, that means that planet is in Ashwini Nakshatra. Okay, talk to you soon. Thank you.